Hey, good evening, you guys. A few years ago, I built a teardrop trailer and I made a YouTube video displaying it and showing you how I built it and how nice it was. Now, I have been using that teardrop trailer ever since I did build it, but recently I decided it was time to improve it because it's been getting a little bit tighter for me. And I thought it would be a lot more useful if I modified the cabinetry, because when I built it, I tried to maximize storage on it, and this is one of those things that in hindsight, I wish I wouldn't have built the cabinets the way I did, but the way I built it was also interlocking, so I couldn't completely get rid of the cabinets without tearing the trailer apart again. And I thought, if anybody's going to build a teardrop trailer, they'd like to know about failures and help them design a trailer in the future. So this is my failure. Well, it wasn't really a failure. It did work for me, but it could be improved, and this is the improvement I came up with. I hope you guys enjoy. I learned a lot, and I think it turned out even better than I'd envisioned in my mind, and it didn't cost me too much other than about a day and a half of work. Hey guys, remember that video I made about my teardrop trailer and the things I regret most about the build of it? I'm going to try to fix one of those things. I didn't allow enough legroom space down below, so I want to redo the cabinetry, which is going to be a little bit more difficult than I wanted it to be. But it will give me a time to show the back galley area that I forgot to show you guys before. So it has two countertops back here. This was set up for a microwave to either be here or a stove top. And of course you have a light above, and the door itself acts like a rain shelter or a sun shelter if you need it. A little bit of storage. Not much storage. But I do like this shelf that I put right at the very top, you know, for spices. At any rate, when I designed this, I actually laid this out using CNC, and these exterior walls have a channel routed in them so that they could accept the back wall and the bottom of the cabinet inside to add a support so that everything is interlocked together, more like IKEA furniture. So while the cabinet face is just screwed on like a normal cabinet face, that back wall, which is the same wall right here, is embedded into this side wall on both sides and screwed in underneath the metal. Now that's also true about the bottom of the cabinet right here. It's inlaid into this wall, so I can't completely remove it because there's screws sticking out right about to here. Because ultimately I want to shorten these cabinet doors or get rid of them and bring, I guess, the cabinet base up to about here. So there's a lot more leg room so that people don't keep saying that there's not enough room. So that's my plan. I'm going to empty out the trailer and start taking it apart again. All right, so with everything out of the way, let me point out that when I built it, there's a lot more leg room space here. So I didn't think it was going to be too much of an issue because you could roll over. And one other thing that's important when you're building a teardrop, make sure the back wall, which is the front wall, is flat so you can lean up against it. Don't make it curved, even though the top of this is curved. You want your back to have some good support. A lot of people just try to incorporate that teardrop design, and it's very difficult to sit inside of a teardrop with a curved front wall. And built out of that 3/4 inch ply, so it's not hollow. Really good structure to sit in. Now another issue I didn't talk about was these cabinet doors were just way too big. When you're inside, it's kind of in your way. So I'm going to shorten these up, and I might end up doing something I don't like, which is turning them into lifting doors, because I think I'm going to be terminating this right about here. At any rate, my next step is to take the cabinet doors off. All right, so those out of the way. And yes, I did have adjustable shelving in here. So this cabinet face is just held on with the cleats down behind it, but I do have to get this stuff out of the way first too. I think, again, a critique would be I wouldn't include a radio or speakers, and another one, a Bluetooth speaker that connects to your phone is more than enough. I would have been more mindful to put more USB in it instead of a 12-volt outlet. But at least the radio was Bluetooth capable. I think my favorite thing about this is the note that I left myself, because installing this radio for those tabs to grab onto anything, so I said it needed a thicker panel than the one I provided. But I did try my best to build it, to make it easy to assemble and so easy to disassemble. I think this covers up a little bit of wires, yeah. Ooh, just fit. Dang, you're good. So I think all I have to do is take the face off, which is just going to be all these screws. Luckily for me, I've taken apart a lot of RV cabinets before, so I learned how to build them. Which may not be the highest praise, but this has gone hundreds of miles and hasn't fallen apart. However, unlike most RV manufacturers, I did put framing in the ceiling so that these cleat screws actually went into something and not just 1/8 inch paneling. Okay, that should release it. Well, it's always something. This isn't really much more than a decorative ring around the entry door, but it came with the entry door. I just hope I don't have to take the entry door off. Otherwise, I'm just as bad as the factories that I always talk bad about. Well, it was tight, but perfectly tight. But hopefully we can understand what I'm talking about a little bit better here. There are channels routed into this exterior wall there. You can kind of see it right there. So that this entire bulkhead, and there are screws right here going into that cabinet underneath that metal. So I can't really remove this. I can only cut it, and that's what I'm going to do. All right, well, here's the plan I came up with. I'm going to use the existing face, of course, and because I can flip it upside down, I'll just eliminate that one compartment right there. I'll have to disassemble it and move this bottom style to where this is, put that all the way across. Then using these doors, I should be able to shorten them up so you can hinge them open like that. And that'll be the bottom of the cabinet right there. I don't know if I'll have room for shelving anymore, or adjustable shelving. And I did build this cabinet face using pocket screws, so it should be easy to rebuild. And while I would like to just cut this flush all the way across, I think the easiest thing to do is to leave a little bit of a lip as a shelf, because it's always nice to have a little bit of shelving no matter what kind of size it is. And then I can put an end band all the way around, so it'll just be kind of like a little loopy, and then there'll be a great big area for your legs to move around with the shelf all the way around underneath the cabinet, which will just be right about here on top. That's my plan. Let's see if it works. So with that all out of the way, I'm going to basically remove this cross piece, move this one all the way up to where that is. I'll just have to cut all 4 of these fairly square so that that just goes straight up in there, then rebuild it again. And I'm lazy and I hate measuring, so I'm going to measure it all off of that one. It is a teardrop trailer, by the way. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now I got to put the bottom on. So then theoretically, that's how it's going to look now. It'll be a nice shelf. That's what a teardrop's supposed to have, is a nice work shelf right there, but that's going to be gone. All right, I'm looking at this and I have an idea. It might work, it might not work, so let me try it out. I have to go get parts though. All right, so here's the updated plan. Now remember, I'm no engineer, and I never claimed to be. So I'm going to use this scrap 3/4 inch plywood to act as a bulkhead to replace this piece that I'm going to remove, because that's actually bracing the interior walls from flexing. So this should be a pretty good replacement for the structure that I'm going to remove. And while this isn't necessarily cabinet grade plywood, it's going to be the underside of the cabinet that you won't see very much, and it'll be the base of the shelving inside, so it needs to have some strength to it. Now the cabinet doors need to be modified, so I have to take everything off. So I need to shorten these up to 16 inches wide by 11.5 inches tall, so a lot smaller than this. So considerably smaller. I set it up so at least one of the holes for the hinges isn't going to be hidden. I mean, I guess I can still use those. That's what I meant. Yes, I will refinish these cut edges. I'll even put some lacquer on it. I accept that I can do a lot of hack work in my life, but this won't take too long. I do have it notched out right there for the wires. Perfect, like a glove. All right, so then that should act as a brace for when I cut this off. And it's also the floor of the cabinet. Now I need to add some protection on the wiring on the inside here. So just put those panels back in where they fit. All right, with the 3 cleats installed, I'll measure the panel that I have to cut down, about 13.5. Have to notch out that bottom, just like that. And notch the other side out too. That's gonna support the wires over the top. And make one more of those adjustments. All too easy. You might be amazed to know how much strength a little piece of paneling gives to the cabinet face itself. Okay, now with these hinges, I can know where to put the other ones at, just measuring off of those established ones. So I just go 1 inch over, right there, and I'll use my centering drill bit. All right, the hinges are mounted. I'm trying to cover up the old hinge holes. Go right about there. Let me get this centered and mounted, which seems to be right about there. I think that looks pretty good. Very useful. But I have to put a handle on first. Now, from my opinion, handles that are smooth all the way to the end without anything poking out is better than a knob or decorative handles, especially in tight quarters, because they like to snag clothes, and these won't snag any clothes. I just want to make sure that it's out of the way of that solid wood cabinet face, because you know this is all solid wood and Teardrop camper. No engineered lumber here. I think 1.5 inches up right there will be perfect, which already happens to be about the same measurement from the old door, so I'll just use that as a guide. Far too easy. All right, let's get those installed. All right, 1 door, 2 door, but it's an RV, so we have to put a latch on. But we're lazy, so we're gonna do it the easy way. We'll just find the middle of the cabinet face right there, or the opening, put the latch on first. A little pre-drill so we don't split the solid real wood. All right, now with the latch installed, we'll put the catch right there. And all we have to do is, and look at that, we got marks to tell me where to put the catch. I mean, it really doesn't get any easier than that. Haha, latch. Well, originally I was just going to make that shelf on the, cut that section out, but I kind of came up with the idea, I'm going to still cut it out, but I'm going to add a piano hinge for it, so this section will flip up out of the way when you want to sleep in it. But if you want more sitting space and desk space or shelf space, you can fold it back down again. They'll still have the ledges over here for it to rest on. I just need to go ahead and break out the old tool. I'm going to cut basically using a guide right there to keep it straight. All right, that is a lot more room in here, right? Now I just used a paint can right there to get the radius. I'm just going to ease this down. Since after all, we don't want to hit our foot or a leg on a sharp corner, right? Now I have an idea of what I'm going to use for a banding right here to create a little bit of a lip, so if you do put something on here, it doesn't fall off immediately. I would use aluminum, but I don't have any right now, and I'm going to use some ABS. That way it won't cut you so easily if your leg runs against it. And I think 2 inches seems pretty good. So I'm just going to notch that section out right there. And then hopefully it'll make sense what I'm doing. Now most manufacturers use a T-molding like you'd see in an arcade cabinet right in there, but I think that'll work pretty well. That creates that lip, and it should bend around once I cut it to fit. Especially if I add a little bit of heat. Look at that, perfect. I mean, could it get better? I just need to make 1 more of them and screw them in place. All right, so a ledge there and a ledge there. And look at that, you can put your phone, oh, this, you can put your phone right there when you're sleeping. Now I just have to engineer the flip up desk. Okay, I'm gonna rip this down to about 10.5. All right, now it's just narrow enough to fit, side to side. I just got a generic piano hinge. I'll cut that to fit the shelf. Of course, you know that I am fixing the edges too. That piano hinge should do a pretty good job being a spine for this panel too, so it doesn't bow. Or I guess that is to say, to keep it from warping. Let's see. Ooh. Very nice. Now all I have to do is figure out the blocking that's necessary to hold this in the up position and to latch it. Let me do that and then I should be done. I did it. Now before the redesign, this cabinet face came all the way down to where the bottom of this is and then went all the way across. So great big huge cabinet space, but when you're laying down in it, right there I would have already hit my knees where the cabinet face would have been. And if you wanted to roll over or put your knees up, you couldn't have done that because that was the bottom of it. But now you have all the room in the world to roll around however you'd like. And I think there's room for two easily in this, even though I've had two in it before. Did lose a little bit of cabinet space because we lost about half of it on both sides. And my favorite thing was a little cubby, which is right here for a catch-all. But we did gain some more countertop space back here and a few more cubby holes. When I cut out the floor of the cabinet right here, I decided rather than getting rid of it, I would use it as a fold-down shelf, which just has two bolts right there that'll hold it in place. And now you have a desktop or a tabletop, and then right over here are two little cubby spaces. And then when this is flipped up, you do have a little bit more storage for flat items behind right there too. Now this is just a cable run cover that I'm also using as a stop for the tabletop countertop to keep it from rattling and banging against things. And I'd say overall I am very pleased with it. But I know what you guys are saying. Yeah, there's a lot of room with the mattress out of there. Maybe we should put the mattress back in and see. And you're not wrong. It's good to be skeptical. This is, after all, about 3 inches thick of foam. Let's try it out. I haven't tried it yet. Take my shoes off now. Okay. Yeah, that's so much better. Oh my gosh. Having slept in this trailer before I modified it, I knew it was very livable, but man, I wish I would have done this years ago. This is so much better. I kind of feel like I just doubled the living space in here. It's cavernous, I would say. Now we'll flip this back down again. And yeah, there's so much room in here. I feel like there's so much room for activities now. And to be perfectly blunt about it, I think it's a lot more useful space as far as storage goes than the big cabinet closet was anyways. And like my buddy said when he saw this, now if you wanted to, you could put a mount to either put a TV right there or a phone holder or a tablet holder. And when you're laying in bed, you got a perfect view. I mean, doesn't get a better angle. So I do hope that this video helped out somebody that might be deciding to build a teardrop trailer. The other advice I could give you is it's going to cost a lot more than you think it's going to cost. It should be on paper like a couple $100s, but when you start adding everything up, it adds up pretty quickly. The biggest items are going to be really the doors. The doors I went with, I wanted high quality doors. It's a give and take. If you build doors yourself, it takes an awful lot of time and a lot of effort. If you buy the doors, it takes a lot of money. So there's not an easy way around it. Even if you have a wholesale account and you know where to get everything, you're in excess of $3,000 just in parts. These doors are about $500 a piece, not including shipping. And I have two of them. The battery is about $80. The tongue jack is about $40. The fenders are about $35, $40. The tires are about $80. The 4 pieces of 3/4 inch pre-finished cabinet grade plywood are about $80 a piece. The axle, even at a used price, is about $150. This vent on the roof is about $250. The lights back here, these are still about $10 a piece. The 1-inch plywood as the base was about $75. And then the steel framing that I've welded all together was an additional $150 in materials, including the tongue. The roof rack on top is about $120. This awning, about $250. The roto packs, about $60 a piece. Heck, just this hurricane hinge right here was about $65, $70. The molding that makes up all the corners all the way around, that's about $250 just in molding. Even the ceiling panel, which is a RV vinyl wrap decor panel, goes for about $100 a sheet. The interior cabinetry, all that wood, that's about another $200. The foam mattress was again about $80. Even that vinyl flooring underneath right there was still $60. Heck, even the exterior aluminum siding that I have on it, including the extra thick aluminum that makes up the rear door, was close to $500. Heck, even the stabilizer jacks on the back right here are about $40 for the set. That's still not even factoring some of the hardware and the soft trim, like these handles, the latches, the gas struts that can be $10 a piece, all the hinges, these handles, those latches, all the screws, staples, nuts and bolts. I got a radio, the 110 wiring, the 12-volt wiring, the charger, the distribution. These curtains don't just appear out of nowhere, neither does the hardware for them. Even all the putty and sealant that has to be used to keep it watertight adds up to about $100. And we're not even talking about labor or installation, delivery pricing, and more importantly, tax and shipping on all the components. I haven't even covered the exterior lighting, because all of that adds up to something. So while I will agree I'm not a big fan of most manufacturers, when people tell me they should be able to pick something like this up for $1,000 or $800, I don't know what world they live in. I think teardrops are great for overnight or weekend travels. It's a little bit more difficult to live out of full time, even more difficult than van life. It's a tiny little area. It's not for inside living, it's for outside living and quick living. You're not bringing a lot of stuff with you. And I learned that in the cabinetry. There's just too much storage space and not enough living space. Other than that, it's a fun experience. I think everybody should give it a shot, because it's amazing what you can do with just a little bit of materials and with the limitations I gave myself, a 4x8. I do have a tour video of that trailer. I can put a link to it in the description down below. And thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope that helped. So the bad news is, I chose to do all this work at the end of my ownership of my teardrop trailer. My life has changed a little bit and I can't hold on to this anymore, so I gotta get it sold. My loss is somebody else's gain, I guess. They're gonna get all the camping gear with it. They won't need the toothpaste though. It's definitely not a money-making venture, but I do hope the next new owner gets to have as many fun memories associated with it that I did. At the very least, they will undoubtedly be a lot more comfortable than I ever was. And I really do wish for them nothing but fun adventures ahead. The only real problem I have now is finding a new owner. And of course, deciding on a price to sell this for. That's the biggest problem. What do you guys think? I don't know. Give me your opinions, or if you're interested, I need to get rid of it. It really is just that versatile that a Prius can pull it around. You can store it in your garage. It has permanent plates on it in Arizona, and it's still a pretty useful utility trailer because you have the rack on top for dimensional lumber or even longer items. And it's one of the very few trailers or RVs that I know is built pretty well and handled a lot of abuse from me with no problems. Okay, so here is my home-built teardrop trailer. This should be a pretty quick tour. There's not too much to look at on it. I did build it to be quite simple and very easy to use. There's a floating aluminum skin on here. It does have LED lights for the porch light. I have 2 roto packs. These are about 2.5 gallons, I think, for freshwater storage. Well, the doors are kind of the most expensive part of this. They do have curtains on it, and the windows do open, just like that. Gives a lot of cross ventilation there, because there's another door on this side, right there. Now this is the living compartment. It is 4 feet wide. It is just going to be a bed. Your feet go underneath right there. Yes, I am 6 foot tall, so I do fit underneath here just fine. So you can lay down in here just fine. A lot of headroom, a lot of leg room. Okay, maybe not a lot of leg room. Inside here, there are going to be 2 closets or storage compartments. They have adjustable shelving on it. You just have a propane stove top in there. This fan is not permanently mounted. It's just plugs into a 12-volt outlet right there. But there is a fantastic vent right above that does open up. Gets a good amount of cross ventilation through the windows and the doors. There's a built-in Bluetooth media player. 110 if you're hooked up to shore power, and those are just the speakers. But it does also have a light inside. You can turn on and off. On the roof, it does have a roof rack with kayak or paddleboard storage. On the tongue, it does have a 12-volt battery, a landing gear tongue jack. The other door on this side. Now these are still fenders, so you can step on them to get access to the roof really easily. Right there is an ARB bagged awning, which will extend out about 8 feet to double the living space. And the nuts and bolts of it's back here. Let's go ahead and open that up, and this will be the kitchen area. You have to excuse me, I do not tend to clean it up each time I put it away. These are just tie down straps for the kayak. Added some storage on either side. Now this section right there is set up for either a microwave to be pushed back in there or stovetop. A camping stove will fit in there perfectly. These are just going to be drawers for storage, and that's the mechanical bay right there with the fuses, the battery charger. There's another light for the galley area, but a very durable and fun teardrop trailer. Very simple, no propane, no water on board. Basically just a hard-sided tent that keeps you out of the mud and out of the dirt, protected from the elements and from animals. And underneath right here, there are leveling jacks. Right there. So the nice thing about this is you can drop this from your tow vehicle. Go enjoy life. You don't have to worry about dragging this around the trail with you if you don't want to. Its overall dimensions are pretty easy to remember. It's 4 feet wide, 8 feet long, and 4 feet tall. There it is, my home-built teardrop trailer. Maybe my favorite RV that I've ever had.